Okay, we're ready to go. Narelle, you all plugged in? You got a battery? She's been talking so much, her battery's gone flat. There's so much excitement there. She's drained the ever-readies.
Flat.
So we're ready to get into the next part of the program that will take us through to the end of this morning. And
just excuse me while I do this.
So what we might do is get the next poll question out. We now want your feedback around some of the things that allow these things to work and not work. And we're going to start with the question that's going to come up in a moment. And look, a little round of applause for our tech team, just as we're waiting, because this is really fantastic what they've done. They've been up until midnight testing and trialling all of this, and well done, burning the midnight oil to make this work, this event. Well done. And so let's have and this is once again, we need your responses. You can write more than one response. Describe the kind of organisational environment that allows women and men to do equally well. And bear in mind what the Premier said this morning, and what a powerful speech he made. Wow. Okay, got a few minutes.
Yes. I'm just going to I'm going to add that.
Oh, check it out.
Oh, hey, this is really cool. Yep. Are we able to record this so we get a screenshot of that? Yeah? Yes? Yep. Good. I think that was an affirmative, but I'm just going to go over here and record this.
Oh, flexibility is getting bigger and bigger. Yes.
I like inclusive. That's happening. Values. Wow. Trust. Honest, supportive, inclusive, that's getting a lot of votes. Yeah. Sharing.
Flexibility, trust, open. That is the mantra of the new economy, and that's precisely what we need. It's so great to see this coming up, because that's actually the backbone of our new book. So thank you. Thank you.
Correct.
Oh, yes, you do.
Empowering. So this is the other thing, which is about people actually having more control over how and where they work and what they do. So, was there a comment there? Did you? No. Just talking out loud.
Is there a microphone? Up here.
Microphone? Great.
Okay, great. Let's hear from. Is this on?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's hear from this group. Just anyone wants to volunteer? You've been looking at the slides. Here we go. That's all yours. Tell us what you're thinking with all this stuff coming up.
Wow. There's a lot of emphasis on, obviously, the words there, being inclusive, flexibility and respect, having values and being open and trustful. And in the conversations I think we had in our groups, some of the areas where there was a lot of success, where people had a shared and commonly understood goal that they could all work towards. And I think that's part of the key to it, is that getting everyone working in the right direction and feeling that they can actually make a proper contribution.
Fantastic. I want to give it to your colleague next to you, and please make a response. Love to hear from you. One of our new men here today.
Respect. That's the word, respect.
Okay, that says it all. Okay.
Anyone over this direction, this side? Who'd like to contribute? Ooh, I'm honing in.
Open communication without bias.
Can you tell us a bit more about that? Yeah.
I guess it's easy to stereotype when you're having conversations with colleagues and friends, and to have no bias when having those conversations is a very difficult thing to do. So it's something that I think needs to be practiced and trained to do well.
How do you work at that? Because you do that. I've heard people say you do that. Yeah?
Do you? Who are they? I want to know.
I have their names and they've paid me a lot of money.
Would you like to do that? Yeah.
I don't know how to answer that, to be honest.
Okay.
I come from a working class family too, just like Irma and the like, and I came from a very different background, and the things I thought I would be doing, I never did. I never participated in the sports that all my friends participated in, and I did things differently. So for myself, I feel that I came from a different side of the railroad tracks, and I see things differently. So I speak to people differently. And one thing I have learned is always get the other perspective. It's the one thing that's been the key to my own successes.
And that was so powerful.
Yeah.
This is very important in terms of leadership, and I'm just going to invite Irma just for a moment to make a comment on this, just in terms of leadership.
Firstly, I think the comments that were just made were spoken by what I would consider to be a true leader. And in fact, by looking at what we've got up there, and I guess the recent code of ethics that I issued, it wasn't that we just get another little book. What we actually need to do is, and a lot of those words are actually in that code, and we went further to talk about values and behaviours. The next step is to actually make sure that when we do define leadership roles at the very top of the public service, that at the heart of everything that we're looking for is someone who can actually demonstrate those things to make sure that the person that just spoke is actually listened to and respected. And that's all I'd say about that.
Do you want to just introduce this bit here now?
Sure. So,
Because it's a context for Pulse.
yeah.
So just here, we've talked.
Yes, I think I'm just moving ahead a bit because we've touched very importantly on people's roles as leaders in encouraging that through that. So we've talked about your workplace, about your role as leaders. We want to kind of pull back a little bit now and think about our role in the South Australian public sector and our role in actually creating really good policy that supports society, business and this huge state of South Australia. So we'd like your input on what kinds of systems and behaviours are required to advance gender equity in the context of innovation and sector performance. So this is going to help us feed into the action plan. So what systems, this is poll 7.
We have the next question, please. Great.
And we'll capture that. What systems could have most impact on increasing gender diversity in the SA public sector? Now, free text here, so...
Once again, we want to capture your information, so please send through the phrases. Oh, what a great one, authentic conversations.
Linking to performance agreements. So human capital in management systems. Training. That kind of gets to that point a bit about, what was that figure, Irma? Was that for the amount of training that went to a particular group? Was that?
I think it's about 68%.
Yeah.
Training was spent.
It was 60, yeah. So it's in that brochure. So just a reminder of just how we have to make those systems work. So 68% of the training budget went to a particular group, which was... Point, yeah, 62%. So there's some kind of systems aspects of that could be that.
Somebody texted future staging. If they'd like to share that and break that open a little bit, that sounds really interesting. Do they want to share that with us?
Future
Just break
staging?
that open a little bit. Does somebody like to own up, fess up on that and just explain that a little bit? Oh, here we go. Well done. Oh, no.
No? Who was...
Future staging?
Yeah, who'd like to just help us understand that?
Yeah, that's a great concept. Can we break it open? What do we mean by future staging?
I'm trying to imagine. Would anyone else know about future staging?
All right, we'll keep moving. It's
Okay.
all right.
Changing how we recruit old, outdated and excludes people from diverse backgrounds. Awareness raising and reinforcement.
No,
And
no.
that goes to the Google example. So they've got a really, actually quite a powerful video now about different people talking about diversity from their perspective and how they include it.
And this bit here, training for soft skills, is just so important if we're going to optimise the knowledge that everyone has, because it's going to be those soft, quiet skills that's going to get that knowledge out of people, and that is just so important. And when I think about the training, particularly so many people in the government sector in Denmark, they have courses like chaos pilots. And I was at a meeting and I was sort of saying, well, what's a chaos pilot? And they have training in international finance, design thinking, and it's really, really interesting. And there they are, the chaos pilots running government departments. It's just so interesting.
One organisation I know, they've got a catalyst for magic. So their job is to bring everyone together when the systems don't do it so well.
Narelle, I just wanted to make a comment. I see lots of comments about flexible work. There's another one.
Yeah.
It's a really important systemic issue. Even when our leaders say we believe in this and we will have it, it's about the implementation and the inconsistent implementation and the decision makers. So our managers' capability in making decisions around flexible work is critical, because we have lots of policy, but the implementation is inconsistent, and we need to do something about the supervisors and managers who make the decisions about that to really see a change.
That's a really good point. Where's Tina?
Yeah.
Okay. Could we get a microphone to Tina? Where is she?
Tina?
Tina?
Just put your hand up, Tina.
She gone.
Can you see
Maybe
her?
she's gone. Oh no, there you are. Yes. Sorry, is it not Tina? Sorry. Tira. Tira. I beg your pardon. Sorry, I read. So Tira, just to reinforce this point, we had a conversation, and if you'd share just a moment about that, about having to be seen at your desk.
Presenteeism seems to be a big issue in
Yeah.
the public
Could you
sector.
just,
Presenteeism seems to be more important than outcomes. So having come from the private sector, it's what you actually achieve, as opposed to being there 9 to 5 Monday to Friday.
Tira, you also had another point to make about, just briefly, about maternity leave and people being connected back in after coming back. Because you've come back.
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
I've been back for about 9 months. I guess I was fortunate, and I had a colleague who we job shared, and so she would ring me, and so I stayed connected. And I think that's quite important. I think, sending people off to maternity leave with a bunny rug or whatever, and never, speaking to them again until they return a year later, it's probably not that effective. And look, you know, those first few weeks and those first 3 months are incredibly intense, but for women who take a year off, which I was fortunate enough to do, once your baby gets settled into the routine, there is, you know, pockets where talking to someone about something interesting, you know, like that, I was desperate. You know, I was following the what was happening in the Baltic, just because, you know, with Russia, not understanding that they were no longer in Russia, which I could understand how that could happen. You know, I was following that so closely because it was an intellectual engagement.
Yeah.
But I would have been just as happy to have that, you know, in some aspect from work, and I got it a bit from my colleague who was really very supportive.
Yeah, thank you for that. And that's so I know some of the CEOs I'm dealing with are actually ringing and connecting and making sure people are connected back in. And we don't just assume that people will all need the time off, and we don't, and we actually assume that the men maybe want to be involved and provided with parental leave the same way they do in Denmark and Sweden and Norway. Okay. So we've got...
And there's a very important point here, just we always have these comparisons, you know, they're better than us. We've, once again in South Australia, we've led in so many spaces around community, everything from community housing to really smart thinking. This state, I mean, I've been living in New South Wales, I mean, I can't say off the record, because we're being filmed, just how good you are here. You know, as a public sector government here, what South Australia is amazing in terms of so many different elements to do with how the state works and how government and the public sector works here. So I think you should feel really great about where you are at this moment, really great about having a terrific Premier who came in with the Minister to make time available to you. This is how important they think it is to communicate to you, 200 leaders here today. They've made that time, and it's that time that they're making, which is your role in lifting your space up into such a beautiful new space, because you've always done that and you've usually led the rest of Australia.
Yeah. So that's rather than ordering, actually doing, which is very timely that we've got that at the top, because the next step we take is, all right, well, this is a good conversations. We know there are benefits for innovation, productivity and growth through diversity. How do we move to action?
Yep.
And so our next poll question is quite specific. What leadership behaviours could have the most impact on increasing diversity in the SA public sector? And this is free text. So what will people actually do as leaders to cultivate that? That's a very good one. That's one of the most powerful words, vulnerability. When I put my hand up and said that I was terrified about doing something, and I was absolutely terrified about it, and my team reacted in a completely different way. I was really embarrassed to say it, and they came in behind me and supported me. Lead by doing, boldness, yep. Open up the sharing. Walking the talk, that's a familiar one, but it's so important and so challenging to actually take those steps.
And modelling behaviour is just so important. If we don't model that behaviour in a very demonstrable way, it's we don't go anywhere. Leadership is vacuous. It's on a piece of policy.
As leaders, when I talk to some of to all the CEOs and organisations I talk to now, I talk to them about who's doing the caring at your place. And that's very interesting, and you get into different spaces. So for men and women, leaders to actually be able to acknowledge that it's really important that we've all got caring roles in society. We all contribute. So let's bring that up so it's explicit. Mature, respectful discussion. I think we've had some beautiful work on that today. Listening. Oh, treat everyone like they're thinking and they actually have meaning. Can I say I'm really grateful for you sharing this today. It's just quite powerful for me. Challenge the status quo. Oh yes.
And for some of you, if this is a bit slow and you want to write a statement and leave it behind, you're welcome to write a statement. Behaviours are so important. We can have great systems, but if we can't get the behaviours aligned, we don't move forward. So if someone's got something they really want to write that's a bit longer than just the ability to text, please write it down.
Write it down, and we'll take it on board because we're pulling in these comments.
And courage. This is such a big one to get out of your comfort zone. It does take courage, and in good teams and the supportive teams, you're able to get the courage to say what you need to say.
Wow, all right. Shall we?
Yeah.
All right, look, what we'd like to do now is to, taking this on board about moving to action, take a few minutes around your table to have a discussion. What's the most important thing you've learned out of today, out of this morning? And we'll come around and just grab a couple of snippets from that. And then we're going to have a couple of minutes of reflecting on that, what we do next. So if you can just take a few minutes to do that. What's the most important thing you've learned out of today? And you can write it down. If you'd like to write that down, we'll take that on board.
All right, all the best. Bye.
What's the most important thing other than